Maybe you're tired, not just physically tired, you're tired of waiting. Tired of praying about the same thing. Tired of wondering when something will finally change. Maybe you've tried to stay faithful. You've tried to trust God. You've tried to believe that things will get better. But deep down, you're asking, how much longer? If that's where you are right now, stay here for a few minutes. Because the Bible speaks directly to those moments. Not with empty promises. Not by pretending that life is always easy. But by reminding us who God is when we don't know what to do next. So take a breath, slow down, and let these words remind you that your difficult season is not the whole story. 1. When you're tired of waiting. Waiting can be one of the hardest parts of faith. You pray, you hope, you wait, and then you wait some more. Sometimes the hardest part isn't knowing that God can answer. It's not knowing when He will. Psalm chapter 27 verse 14 says, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." Waiting doesn't mean that nothing is happening. And waiting doesn't mean that God has forgotten you. Sometimes God is working in ways you cannot see yet. You may not understand the timing. You may not understand the silence. But you don't have to understand everything to keep trusting Him. If you're waiting right now, don't assume that the delay means denial. Keep going, keep praying, keep trusting. Your timing and God's timing may not look the same, but you are not forgotten. 2. When you feel like nothing is changing. Sometimes you keep doing the right thing, and nothing seems to happen. You pray, you work, you try again, but the results don't come. Galatians chapter 6 verse 9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Notice those words. At the proper time, not immediately, not whenever we want. At the proper time. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. Growth can happen quietly. You may not see anything happening above the ground. But that doesn't mean there is no growth. So if you're doing your best and you're not seeing results yet, don't give up simply because the results are slow. Keep planting, keep growing, keep doing what is right. Your current season is not necessarily your final destination. When you feel weak, there are moments when you simply don't have the strength anymore. You don't know how you're going to handle tomorrow. You don't even feel strong enough to deal with today. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 29 says, "He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak." God doesn't only meet people when they're strong. He meets them in their weakness too. You don't have to pretend that you're okay. You don't have to pretend that you have everything figured out. You can come to God exactly as you are. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31 reminds us that those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Sometimes faith isn't feeling strong. Sometimes faith is simply saying, "God, I don't have much strength left. But I'm still going to trust you." And that is enough for today. You don't have to carry tomorrow's strength today. Take today one step at a time. 4. When you're afraid of the future. The future can be frightening. You don't know what will happen. You don't know where you'll be. You don't know whether things will work out the way you hope. And uncertainty can make your mind imagine the worst. But Joshua chapter 1 verse 9 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Notice something important. God doesn't promise that you will know everything about the future. He promises His presence. You don't need to know everything that is coming. You only need to know that you won't face it alone. You can take the next step without having the entire path mapped out. God can guide you one step at a time. So don't let fear about tomorrow steal everything from today. Tomorrow isn't here yet. Today is. Take today's step, and leave tomorrow in God's hands. 5. When you've failed again. Maybe you've made mistakes. Maybe you've disappointed yourself. Maybe you've promised yourself you would change. And then you fell back into the same pattern. Failure can make you believe that you're finished. But Proverbs chapter 24 verse 16 says, "Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." The verse doesn't say they never fall. It says they rise again. Falling doesn't have to be the end. A mistake doesn't erase every good thing you've done. Failure doesn't mean you can never begin again. You may need to learn. You may need to apologize. You may need to change direction. But you can still get back up. So if you've fallen, get up. If you made a mistake, learn from it. If you need to start again, start again. God is not asking you to have a perfect past. He is calling you to keep moving forward. 6. When you feel alone. There are moments when you can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. Maybe nobody understands what you're carrying. Maybe you've stopped talking about it because you're tired of explaining. Psalm chapter 34 verse 18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." God sees the parts of your life that other people don't see. The thoughts you don't say out loud. The tears nobody notices. The battles you fight quietly. You may feel alone, but feeling alone doesn't mean you have been abandoned. God is close to the brokenhearted. So if you're hurting tonight, you don't have to hide it from Him. Talk to Him, even if all you can say is, "God, I need you." That prayer is enough to begin. 7. When you don't understand God's plan. Sometimes nothing makes sense. You prayed for one thing, and something completely different happened. You thought you knew where your life was going, and suddenly everything changed. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." That's difficult, because we want explanations. We want to know why. We want to see the entire picture. But faith often means trusting God when you can't see the entire picture. You may only see one piece. God sees the whole, so when you don't understand, you can still trust. You don't have to understand God's plan before trusting the one who holds it. 8. When your mind won't stop worrying. Sometimes the hardest battle isn't happening around you. It's happening inside your mind. What if something goes wrong? What if I fail? What if things don't work out? What if? What if? What if? Philippians chapter 4 verse 6-7 tells us not to be anxious about everything, but to bring our requests to God through prayer and thanksgiving. And it says that the peace of God can guard our hearts and minds. Prayer doesn't mean every problem disappears immediately, but it means you don't have to carry every worry alone. When the thoughts become overwhelming, stop, breathe, pray, tell God exactly what you're afraid of. You don't need fancy words. Just be honest. God, this is worrying me. I don't know what to do. Please give me peace. Sometimes the first step isn't solving everything. It's surrendering what you cannot control. 9. When it feels like God is silent. This can be one of the hardest seasons. You pray, but you don't hear an answer. You ask, but nothing seems to change. You wonder, God, are you even listening? The Bible contains prayers from people who felt this way too. Psalm chapter 13 begins with the words, "How long, Lord?" David asked God how long he would feel forgotten. So if you've ever felt this way, you're not strange. You're not the only one. Even faithful people have experienced seasons where God seems silent. Silence does not automatically mean absence. You may not see what God is doing. You may not understand what He's doing, but you can continue to seek Him. Keep praying, keep reading His Word, keep walking forward, even when you don't have all the answers. 10. When you want to give up. Maybe this is where you are right now. You're simply tired of trying. Tired of starting again. Tired of hoping. Tired of being disappointed. Hebrews chapter 10 verse 35-36 says, "Do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded." You need to persevere. Persevere. That means keep going, not because everything is easy, but because your current difficulty isn't the end of your story. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply take one more step. One more prayer, one more day, one more attempt, one more moment of trust. You don't need to figure out your entire life tonight. Just take the next step. If you've stayed until this point, maybe you needed to hear one of these reminders. Maybe you're waiting, maybe you're hurting, maybe you're confused, maybe you're afraid, maybe you're exhausted. Whatever your situation is, remember this: your difficult season is not your entire story. The fact that you're struggling today doesn't mean you will struggle forever. The fact that you're waiting doesn't mean you've been forgotten. The fact that you've failed doesn't mean you're finished. And the fact that you don't understand what God is doing doesn't mean He isn't working. You don't need to have every answer today. You don't need to know exactly what tomorrow will bring. You can take one step, then another, and another. Keep trusting, keep praying, keep moving forward. God is still God in the waiting. God is still God in the uncertainty. God is still God in the silence. And God is still with you in the middle of the storm. So before you leave, take a moment, breathe, and give God whatever you've been carrying. The fear, the uncertainty, the disappointment, the questions, the future. You don't have to solve everything tonight. Let tomorrow come when it comes. For today, take the next step, and keep going. Prayer. Lord, for the person listening right now, You know what they are carrying. You know the questions they haven't told anyone. You know the things that make them afraid. You know the prayers they've been waiting for. Give them strength when they feel weak. Give them peace when their minds are overwhelmed. Give them courage when the future feels uncertain. Help them trust you when they don't understand. And when they feel like giving up, remind them that they are not walking alone. Help them take the next step. Give them patience in the waiting, hope in the difficult seasons, and faith when they cannot see what you are doing. Thank you for being near to those who are hurting. Thank you for giving strength to the weary. And thank you for never asking us to walk through life alone. Amen. If this message encouraged you today, just remember, you don't have to know the whole path. Just take the next step.